Australia is not just home to stunning beaches and wild outback. It hides ghost towns where time stopped and the dead never left. From cursed asylums to whispering ruins, these 10 haunted villages will chill you to the bone. Dare to enter? One, Trunky Creek, New South Wales. In the forgotten folds of New South Wales lies Trunky Creek, a sleepy gold rush village with secrets buried deeper than its abandoned mines. By day, it's all dusty roads and rusted tin roofs. But when night falls, the town breathes differently. Locals whisper of the miner, a ghostly figure seen dragging a lantern across the old creek bed. His face, obscured by a battered hat, his steps, heavy with sorrow. They say he searches for the vein of gold that led to his death, a fatal cave-in no one dared to report. A tourist once stayed overnight in one of the old cottages. He awoke at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of picks striking stone beneath the floorboards. When he ran outside, no one was there, just the fading glow of a lantern disappearing into the trees. Few return after sundown. Fewer speak of what they've seen. But if you ever find yourself in Trunky Creek and hear the slow scrape of metal in the silence, don't look back. He hates being watched. 2. Walhalla, Victoria. Tucked deep within Victoria's shadowy mountain ranges, Walhalla seems frozen in time, a gold rush town where the past refuses to stay buried. Its silent streets echo with footsteps that don't belong, and its misty nights carry whispers no living soul should hear. The long tunnel extended mine, once the town's beating heart, is now a dark wound in the earth. Tourists report icy fingers brushing their necks, voices calling out from pitch-black shafts. Some claim to have seen a child in tattered clothing standing at the entrance, only to vanish when approached. But the most chilling tale belongs to the old fire station bell. Locals say it rings by itself, always at 2:47 a.m., the same time a group of miners were trapped and left to die during a cave-in in 1910. People come for history. They leave with questions, and sometimes with something following. If you visit Walhalla, don't ignore the shadows. They're watching, and some of them never left. 3. Gundagai, New South Wales. Gundagai wears its tragedy like a shroud. This quiet riverside town in New South Wales may look peaceful, but beneath its soil lie the echoes of drowning screams and restless souls. In 1852, a great flood swallowed the original settlement. Entire families were swept away in the night, their cries drowned beneath the surging Murrumbidgee River. Only a few survived, carried to safety by 2 heroic Wiradjuri men. The rest were never found. Today, at the edge of Prince Alfred Bridge, long abandoned and half collapsed, visitors report hearing faint sobs drifting over the water. Some even see shadowy figures crossing the bridge, vanishing halfway through. Locals warn, never walk it alone after midnight. And at the old cemetery, lanterns have been spotted flickering between gravestones. Even when there's no wind, no visitors, and no explanation, Gundagai doesn't scream its horror. It whispers it, like the river it stands beside, calm on the surface, but haunted by everything it took. 4. Kulgardi, Western Australia. Once the beating heart of Australia's gold rush, Kulgardi is now a ghost town cloaked in silence, and something far more chilling. At first glance, it's just old buildings and dusty streets. But step inside the Kulgardi Railway Hotel, and you'll feel it. The air grows thick, cold, watched. Guests report doors slamming on their own, footsteps pacing just outside their rooms, and the soft sobbing of a woman in white. They say she's Maggie, a young widow who died waiting for her husband to return from the mines. Her room remains locked, untouched, but staff swear they still hear her humming lullabies from behind the door. The old jail is worse. Shadows move when no one's there. And once, just once, a traveler heard a guttural whisper in his ear, "Get out." He did, immediately. Kulgardi may have lost its gold, but it gained something else, something that lingers, something that remembers. And if you listen too closely, it just might speak to you. Five. Gualia, Western Australia. In the scorched red dust of Western Australia lies Gualia, a ghost town frozen in time, where silence isn't empty, it's listening. Once a booming gold mining settlement, Gualia died overnight when the last mine closed in 1963. Families packed their belongings, left meals half-eaten on tables, and vanished. The town remains exactly as they left it. Beds unmade, radios unplugged but humming, clocks stopped at 3:17. Visitors to the abandoned state hotel speak of a woman peering from the upstairs window, pale, expressionless, never blinking. No one's checked in for decades. Lights flicker on in rooms with no power. A piano plays itself in the dead of night. But the strangest tale. A group of travelers stayed in one of the miners' huts. At dawn, they found child-sized footprints circling their tent, despite no children living within miles. Gualia is more than deserted. It's occupied by the past. And if you stand still long enough, it might just mistake you for someone who never left. 6. Silverton, New South Wales. Baked beneath the outback sun, Silverton looks like a forgotten movie set. But when night falls, it becomes something else entirely. Once a thriving mining town, now nearly deserted, Silverton holds on to its ghosts with pride and fear. The old jail, crumbling and cold, is said to echo with screams, not of the past, but of the present. Tourists report being shoved, scratched, even locked inside cells with no working doors. At the Silverton Hotel, laughter drifts from the bar long after closing time. Glasses clink. A shadow leans against the counter. But when staff check the cameras, there's no one there. Just empty chairs and a door slowly swinging shut. Locals speak of a rider, a headless man on horseback, galloping across the desert at midnight. His horse leaves no tracks, but his lantern glows faintly behind him, vanishing into the dust. Silverton wears its history like a scar. And sometimes, scars bleed, even 100 years later. Seven. Port Arthur, Tasmania. Port Arthur isn't just haunted, it's cursed. Once a brutal convict settlement, this coastal site in Tasmania saw suffering etched into every stone, every wall, and it never left. Here, prisoners were broken, not just by chains, but by silence, locked in solitary confinement so intense that some lost their minds screaming into the dark. They say those screams still echo today, especially inside the separate prison, where visitors report sudden chills, whispered voices, and unseen hands brushing their necks. The most feared spot? The parsonage, once home to the chaplain. It looks innocent from the outside, but inside, the air feels thick, heavy. One woman fainted after seeing a black figure standing at the top of the stairs. When she woke, she whispered, "He told me not to come back." Tour guides walk in pairs. Locals avoid the grounds after sundown. Because in Port Arthur, history doesn't rest. It lingers, watches, and sometimes it follows you home. 8. Beechworth, Victoria. Beechworth may charm visitors with its vintage beauty, But beneath the surface of this Victorian-era town lies a darkness that refuses to fade. The Beechworth Lunatic Asylum, once one of Australia's largest, still stands like a scar on the land. Over 9,000 patients passed through its iron gates, and many never left. Screams once echoed through its endless halls. Today, silence fills them, but it's the kind that listens. Visitors have seen women in hospital gowns drifting across rooms, disappearing through walls. Others feel hands on their shoulders when no one is behind them. And always that low humming, as if someone is praying or weeping. But the worst tale? A nurse who vanished during her shift. Her body was never found. Yet her keys jingle down the corridors at night, and sometimes her reflection appears in the old surgical mirrors, staring, unblinking, mouthing a word no one can quite understand. Beechworth doesn't just tell ghost stories, it breathes them. And if you stay too long, it just might remember your name. Nine, Yuranderie, New South Wales. Deep in the Blue Mountains, hidden behind winding dirt roads and crumbling ridgelines, lies Yuranderie, a once thriving silver mining town, now eerily still. But silence isn't peace here. It's a warning. The post office stands frozen in time, letters still scattered across the counter, dust thick like ash. Visitors have heard the bell above the door ring when no one enters, followed by slow, deliberate footsteps across the wooden floor. But when they turn around, the room is empty, except for the sudden drop in temperature. In the old church, voices chant late into the night, soft, like a distant prayer. Yet there's no priest, no congregation, just shadows seated in the pews, unmoving, watching. And then there's the mine. Locals say if you enter alone, you won't be alone for long. People come back shaken, pale, whispering about a figure with no face, just a wide, crooked smile carved into the dark. Yuranderie isn't just abandoned, it's guarded by something that never left, something that doesn't want you to either. Fina, South Australia. Fina lies beneath the blistering outback sun, a skeleton of stone and sand. And yet, the ruins seem to breathe with memories too stubborn to die. Once, a hopeful settlement, Fina was abandoned when the rains stopped and the desert took hold. But even now, among the broken walls and half-buried cellars, something lingers, something waiting. Travelers who camp overnight speak of ghostly figures wandering the railway tracks. Men in wide-brimmed hats, carrying lanterns that flicker without fire. A woman's wail has been heard near the underground bakery, guttural, desperate, echoing from beneath the earth where many once sheltered, and some never emerged. But the strangest sight, a child in old-fashioned clothes, standing alone near the crumbled church, always silent, always staring, and when approached, gone, like smoke on the wind. Fina may be empty, but listen closely. The wind doesn't just howl, it whispers, names, warnings, regrets. Because in Fina, the dead aren't buried, they're waiting to be found. Some towns are forgotten, others refuse to be. So if you ever visit these haunted corners of Australia, listen carefully. The silence, it's not empty, it's watching. Which village creeped you out the most?